Good evening and welcome to Fast Fridays presented by Maconi Setup Shop. Tonight we're here at Lime Rock Park, and for those of you who haven't joined us before, Fast Fridays is a weekly series presented by Maconi Setup Shop featuring a varying car and track combination each and every week. And with this revamped format we're seeing now, drivers enter these qualifying race with the top 20 in points automatically locked in to the money races. My name is Robert Hill Jr. Joining me in the booth tonight is Shane Mundy with David Kreutz working the controls as our producer. And Shane, the street stocks recently did get an update here on iRacing with 2 new cars added. And of course, we are here for some left and right turns tonight at the famous Lime Rock Park. With that in mind, what can we expect to see here as the drivers prepare to hit the track?
Chaos. To put it simply, chaos. I mean, as you take a look at the starting grid there, Rocky Boyd on the front row, but that'll go across our viewer's screen at home. But I mean, these cars aren't really made for them right turns, so could be kind of interesting to see how they handle it here, especially at Lime Rock Park, a track that maybe some of these guys aren't too familiar with, especially if they kind of stick to the oval scene of things. But this is Fast Fridays, so we kind of throw a wrench in everything as much as we can to make this entertaining. And to sum it up in one word, I think it's just going to be quite chaotic, but it's going to be a great show.
That's an absolutely great way of putting it for sure, Shane. It's going to be chaotic. And the one thing about Lime Rock is this is one of the free road courses here on iRacing. So everyone really has had the opportunity, hopefully at some point in their iRacing career, to at least attempt to do a lap around this circuit. The base car is rolling off, so let's take a look at the starting grid. Rocky Boyd, like you mentioned, starting on the pole alongside Jack Mace. Derek Dixon and Dawson Cram, the NASCAR Xfinity Series driver, starting in row number 2. Logan Wilson and Jared Davis going to round out the first 3 rows.
As we move on to the next set here, we got Jesse Kaplan in 7th, Aiden Wickfield in 8th. Jonathan Sellers and Terry Henry round out our top 10 with Mike Sargent in the 11th position, as well as Rafael Semprich. I'm probably botching that, but that is P12 for tonight's race.
Starting 13th, Nicholas Molessi alongside Zach Ball in row number 7. Row 8, Dan Farron and Jesse Webb with Hans Koenig and John Campbell rounding out the top 18. That's your first 9 rows here today.
And then we're going to move on here. Brady Willeman, Ben Roberts round out the top 20 spots. Maurice Berry, our very own Jeffrey Maconi, who had some heartbreak on the last lap of our Fast Fridays event last week in Charlotte. Got wiped out for the lead off turn 2 on the final lap. And Joe Marks 23rd, Noah Carpenter slots into the 24th spot.
The rest of the drivers may see a couple of them come out onto the racetrack at some points tonight. Those include Brady Willeman, Chris Walsh, Jesse Calloway, and Gerald Ingerick. As we are about to get set to go here, the pace car getting set to make that turn onto pit road. 30 laps on the docket here tonight. This should be a quick one for Fast Fridays. We're going to put the fast in Fast Fridays tonight as the field works their way down to the green flag. We are green. And Rocky Boyd going to go out to the early race lead here at a foggy Lime Rock Park. Already issues for Derek Dixon. He's going to get sideways, goes off the racetrack, able to gather it back up, and it is absolute chaos behind them.
Here now, we got Jared Davis has gone around off our second corner. He's going to wait for the track to get clear. He's going to get back rolling in that 15 on your screen right there. I mean, like you said, right off the start, you said it was a foggy condition on the racetrack right now. That is obviously quite a wrench into people's vision here. Zach Ball as well has gone around. We saw multiple cars having issues in turn 1. Not sure if it was maybe brake lock up or just maybe flat out couldn't see. Jesse Kaplan in the fourth spot there on the screen. Look at all these cars bottoming out so much down that bank. That downhill turn, as it's still Rocky Boyd on the top spot as he leads lap 1.
Looking like we're about to have a side-by-side battle. Yes, we do, for the third position. Jesse Kaplan up on the inside on drivers right there of Dawson Cram. Cram going to hold on to position number 4. Just behind them is a blinking Derek Dixon. And actually, no, that's Logan Wilson with the connection issues. So got to wonder if potentially for him, I did see him say he doesn't have a graphics card on his computer. So maybe this fog kind of playing an effect on him here tonight. But looking through the field, biggest movers so far, Brady Wellerman, the 44 machine, up 6 spots, already finds himself inside the top 10, and he's got quite a few hard chargers ahead of him. Jonathan Sellers just went off the racetrack, able to gather it up, but he continues to be absolutely sideways all over the racetrack as we're watching the battle there between Jesse Kaplan and Dawson Cram for 3rd and 4th there on the racetrack. Out front continues to be Rocky Boyd, as we've already put 2 laps in the books.
And you pointed out the connection issues for Logan Wilson. It's one thing for fog to be a visibility issue, so we got one off track there. I believe that's Kaplan. It's going to be tight right here between Cram and Dixon, but they keep it straight. Logan Wilson, despite those connection issues, he's up into a podium position right now in the 3rd spot. But it's one thing, like I was saying, for fog to be a visibility issue, but you've got a car in front of you blinking, and Dawson Cram wants by it quick. It looks like his connection stabled out for the moment. But Dawson Cram going to have the preferred lane. Sideways Dixon. They all hang on. Oh, and around goes Dixon.
Hard impact with the tire barrier there for Derek Dixon. We saw Cram get absolutely rammed holding on to that 3rd position. It is a blanket over these guys from 3rd through 5th right now. Cram, Wilson, and Kaplan. Is Jesse Kaplan going to go to drivers right there on the 76 of Logan Wilson, side by side down the straightaway, headed for turn number 1. As we're watching the replay, you can see, I believe, yeah, that was Dixon, just sent it in deep, Shane.
Yeah, he got right tight up on the bumper. I believe that was Dawson Cram, and I think the 28 just kind of crammed it in there as well. Tight racing quarters. These cars are not super easy to turn, especially on a road course, and it's not maybe made for, unfortunately, you're going to pay the price there. He's already had it towed back. So we got a couple cars here without some front ends. It's a 63 there, and Jeff Maconi ahead of him in the 17th spot. So these guys are using up every fender that they've got on this thing, every piece of body.
These are absolutely looking like the street stocks you would see at your local short track right now. No noses on them. They've beat them to heck here so far, but continuing to put on a good show as we have door-to-door for 3rd right now. Kaplan and Cram absolutely leaning on each other as Jesse Kaplan able to clear. Jeff Maconi still absolutely wild back there. I just saw that on the shot. Is just behind them, contact. Logan Wilson gets hit there by Aiden Wingfield. Wingfield going to fall back into that 6th position now, losing a little bit of ground to Wilson, as Wilson going to try to close that gap up to Cram and Kaplan. But out front here, Shane, continues to be Rocky Boyd and Shane Mundy. Or, no, that's you. Rocky Boyd and Jack Mace, as Mace going to go side by side with the leader.
Well, if I'm in that car, I'm taking the race lead, because it is Jack Mace to the top spot. Wasn't sure if anybody was really going to get up to Rocky Boyd. He kind of got up front right off the rip from the top spot, through the grass there a little. But, I mean, he kind of set sail. But Jack Mace, he's figured it out here. He has ran him down. It's going to be bumper to bumper here into turn 1, though. Robert?
You're going to see some great battles throughout the race from these two guys. They are teammates, they are friends, but they're still going to race each other hard. They're not going to wreck each other, but they're going to give each other the bumper, try to move each other out of the way. We saw Boyd give the bumper there to Jack Mace not too long ago, and he's setting himself up once again for an opportunity potentially going uphill here at the Lime Rock Park. And this area of the racetrack, Shane, as I'm sure you know, is one of those spots that really unsettles the car. No matter what you're in, you hit that bump, you're afraid that you might be getting into the tire wall.
Yeah, it's very unstable, especially, I mean, look at them bottoming out through there. That just continues to blow my mind how much these things are just, how low they are. But it's very easy to upset this car on its own. And I, not to sound like a broken record, keep talking about how these things don't typically turn to the right. It's like you mentioned earlier. These are kind of the cars you'll see at maybe your local short track. It's like a pre-race to your late model action. These are the guys that they just whip these things up in their backyard, basically. But you know, so far so good between these two. And I will say, though, they are really abusing their equipment. I don't know how obvious it is on our broadcast, but the rotors, the front brake rotors of these cars are cooking. They are bright red, and it's especially noticeable with the fog. These guys are slipping around a ton, too. It's pretty crazy. It kind of reminds me, Robert, I don't know if everybody in the audience would know, but that Watkins Glen finish that NASCAR had on New Zealand again, that Marcus Ambrose, Brad Keselowski, they kept going through the grass and everything. That's kind of what this is giving some vibes of.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. That was the one where Kyle Busch was involved a little bit as well, got spun out, and we saw that great battle between Ambrose and Keselowski, and we're seeing these great battles all throughout. That's Aiden Wingfield side by side with Brady Williman. He's already up 11 positions as Wingfield going to go off the racetrack 3 wide briefly there. Here comes Dan Farron and Logan Wilson going to get by him. So move Wilson to 7th now, so he's on a little bit of a rebound from his troubles earlier, but he's still side by side with Dan Farron, one of those guys that last time we brought Fast Fridays to the Lime Rock Park, he was one of the guys to beat, and he's showing some great speed so far tonight. Didn't have a good qualifying effort, but currently running 6th. And you just saw the rotors right there on the Dan Farron machine. That was bright.
Yeah, there's a great job as they go through this corner. I mean, they are bright red, slipping and sliding everywhere, riding on the edge of out of control. And a little bit ago, you mentioned one of our biggest movers, Brady Williman. He is now up to the 5th spot. That is 11 spots up from his starting position. Maybe not matching the lap times that our 2 leaders have. They're kind of in their own zip code, Mason Boyd. But Williman definitely deserves his flowers. There he is on your screen. Look at that. Started 19th. And he has worked that 51 machine all the way up to the 5th spot. iRacing stamped 44. The custom 51 on it to avoid any confusion there. But definitely an impressive drive so far.
Yeah, you're absolutely right on that. Good to see those guys able to work their way up through the field and showing some good pace. I'm also watching a battle just outside the top 10 between Jesse Calloway and Jeff Maconi. They're side by side for the 13th and 14th positions now. Maconi, the trailing car, Calloway just ahead as... Again, these cars missing body panels, but still putting on a show in the midfield. So nice to see there. And one thing I just saw there on that last shot was Brady Williman absolutely sideways, able to gather it up and continue on. And we're seeing that out of Maconi as well, as he's going to dive it deep into the corner to try to get by the Jesse Calloway machine. He does get ahead of him here, but not quite clear yet for Jeff Maconi. Now going to clear in that 0-3 and start to pull away.
I'll tell you what, something that I definitely did not expect. When I found out that we were headed to Lime Rock Park this week, you know, after Charlotte last week in the street stock, I was kind of skeptical, I'll admit it. I did not know how good of a track car combo that this could possibly be. This is putting on an amazing show. I mean, maybe I'm just a little uncultured in that, but my goodness, these guys are just, it's like a slip and slide out here. They are putting on action no matter what spot they're battling for. Look at Dawson Graham right there, running just ahead of Williman in the 4th spot. This is just incredible driving by all of these guys. And my goodness. And you mentioned about how, you know, these guys are missing body panels and all that. I wanted to comment on it. You know, sometimes I swear, and maybe I'm just a conspiracy theorist, I swear sometimes when I knock a body panel off my car, I'm faster.
Yeah, it really depends on if it's a aerodynamically heavy racetrack. If it's not one that depends on aero as much, such as Lime Rock Park here, you could potentially be quicker due to a weight advantage of losing a couple of pounds in a body panel. And I believe iRacing has kind of implemented that with these new damage models that we have. And you could definitely see a big improvement. It's nice to see where the nose just gets ripped off. It happens in the real world, and it's happening here as well. And it, oh my God, that guy's absolutely sideways.
He is just digging out here.
Man,
I mean,
he's got the wings out, Shay.
Every corner, he has got the pedal to the metal. I mean, look at him right on this curve. We're going to go on board with him. This should be a great shot, especially if we stay with it on any corner exit. I swear, if it's a sharp,
literally any corner,
he's going to go off track and just fly around. It don't seem to be hurting him that much either. But I mean, iRacing has really done a phenomenal job with these new damage models that we were talking about just a moment ago. I mean, the new truck physics are fantastic, and you know every car I think kind of shares a similar damage model now, and it's really impressive, regardless of if it's the same model or not, how different each car can handle losing a part, you know, maybe having some steering damage, how different it is, and especially on different tracks. There you go, look at that. I mean, just off track for Aiden, flying out here in the process. I mean, 57.2 is his current lap time. Not too much harm. He's chasing, that's Logan Wilson ahead of him.
He almost gained a little bit of harm there going through turns 1 and 2. But one thing to notice as well, or that I did notice while we were riding on board there with Aiden Wingfield, was how dark it is. With that fog that we have here tonight, it is dark on the racetrack. You're not necessarily seeing your brake markers as well as you would on a clear day. And I think that's something that might have come into play earlier on when we had that big incident there. Is we're watching Dan Farron now. He's up on the rear end of Dawson Cram. Cram holding on to that 4th position, was up in 3rd earlier on, but Jesse Kaplan, of course, was able to make quick work.
Wigfield's gone around.
Oh no, and he's towed it back.
Yeah. Oh, that is a bummer. We were just giving him his flowers. Sorry to interrupt you there, Robert, but
no, you're good.
Noticed him go around. But back to this battle here with Farron and Cram. Look at the rotors. Watch the front tires. Look at them. They are just on fire. These guys, and you know, you're talking about the visibility. You know, and we can have all the fun we want watching these guys from the sidelines. I promise you, it is way sketchier inside the cockpit of one of these cars with all this fog, because sometimes you just don't know where these guys are. And it's not like these cars have brake lights that you can tell that they're in front of you. I mean, sometimes you could just sneak up on somebody and maybe not even know how close you really are to them.
That's exactly it, especially when they're running the darker liveries on some of these cars here tonight, or paint schemes for those that don't use that terminology. It can be tough to see them sometimes, and especially with the fog out here that we have. This is an intense battle with Dan Farron and Dawson Cram, though, going down the front straightaway. Cram on the left side, Farron on the right. Cram got a little bit sideways. He's off the racetrack, and he's going to be able to gather it back up, swipes it back onto the racetrack. But now here comes Brady Wellman as he's going to move up into that 5th position. So Wellman had fallen back just a little bit. Dan Farron, another one of those big movers here so far tonight. These guys came up through the field together, and I think they're going to have a battle here within the next handful of laps. And speaking of laps, we're at the halfway point, 15 down, 15 to go. And it's been all Jack Mason, Rocky Boyd here so far tonight.
Yeah, so far so for Mace, but you know, remember, it's Rocky Boyd that started on the pole. And we saw Dan Farron working on Dawson Cram there. He used the old Intimidate button from those old EA sports games that we all played as a kid. Got him right out of the way. Just got him loose. Perfectly done by Farron. But as for Mace and Boyd, they're in their own zip code. I mean, it's about a little over half a second between Mace and Boyd at the moment. Meanwhile, behind Boyd, it's over 6 seconds back to 3rd. So these guys are just putting on a clinic right now. And I can only imagine that with every lap that goes by, you just comment on the fact that we're now past halfway. Rocky is probably thinking every single lap, how do I set him up for this pass? How can I put myself in a position to get back that speed and get this win today?
The thing with Rocky Boyd, and I think this is more on the short tracks and the ovals, he's one of those guys that likes to save a little bit towards the end, doesn't necessarily push it 100%, but on these road courses, I kind of have a feeling that he is giving it his all right now, trying to get up there to Jack Mace. He obviously could charge the corners a little bit harder maybe and risk it a little bit more, but at this point, a little too early for that. But we'll keep an eye on Rocky Boyd and Jack Mace both. That gap, like you said, is about 6.5 tenths of a second between 1st and 2nd. So when we get to those final 5-6 laps, we'll see what the gap is at, if it's closed up at all, and if Rocky Boyd maybe does have a little bit left in the tank that he's not showing us so far. But just an update on the battle we had seen a couple of moments ago. That was between Jonathan Sellers and Jared Davis for the 8th and 9th positions on the racetrack. Sellers holding on to that 8th spot. Davis trying to close the gap back up to the rear end of the number 2 of Jonathan Sellers. And of course, Sellers, for those that are Fast Friday regular viewers, you would know him as one of the contenders pretty much any time we go to a short track. He's one of those guys that finds his way to the front and usually has something to say when it comes to those closing few laps.
We got a battle for the lead at the front. Rocky Boyd and Jack Mace are going at it. I think Mace might have had, or excuse me, Boyd might have had somewhat of a problem. Might have gone off track slightly. Oh, we're looking at that battle for 8th there, and now Jack Mace, he continues to lead, but Boyd definitely in a better spot now. He's definitely in closer range than just a moment ago when we looked at this battle.
Yeah, definitely one to keep an eye on for that top spot as Boyd just slid off the racetrack just a little bit. Jack Mace pushing the track limits as well. And as we do keep an eye on this one, Jack Mace goes off the racetrack, as does Rocky Boyd once again. And just a quick note, the battle is brewing for 3rd as Dan Farron's really closing that gap up to Jesse Kaplan. You can kind of see them off in the distance there. There they are, as they're working their way down the front straightaway as well, past the pit exit, now into turn number 1. Kaplan holding that spot. Farron really closing the gap here. Like I said, last time we came to Lime Rock Park last season here in Fast Fridays, he was one of the guys to beat, and he's showing it again tonight.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, it's kind of a long shot, but never say never, that our 2 leaders in some way get together and allow
100% possible
the 3rd place guy to get in range or even 4th. So, you know, you never know. Obviously, right now, this is the battle for 3rd, but if something were to happen with the 2 leaders, this would be the battle for maybe the lead and even the eventual win. But these guys, oh my gosh, Kaplan went way off track. I thought he was going to nail those tire barriers, but these guys are all just laying it all on the line. I mean, especially right here in this corner off the final, just sliding off the racetrack. The battle for the lead still about the same distance as when we looked a moment ago. We'll be coming back to 10 laps to go this time by. It's still Mace up front. Boyd, maybe right now, Robert, you think just trying to figure out how do I set him up from the distance I'm at right now, or do you think he's even thinking about that right now, just focusing on maybe saying mistake 3?
Knowing Rocky Boyd from past races, he's definitely thinking of how can I get by Jack without wrecking us both, but also at the same time, I'm going to take the risk, and if I do wreck him, well, so be it. I want to get up there and take that top spot myself here with just 10 to go. And Rocky Boyd has closed the gap, like you noted there, Shane. It was about 0.6 of a second not too long ago, and visually you can see that it's closing up as they work their way down that long front straightaway towards turn number 1. This is one of those corners where I kind of expect Rocky Boyd to go in a little bit deeper, and he does. He's almost up to that rear bumper of Jack Mace. He's got to make sure that he doesn't make any mistakes while also trying to maybe force a slight mistake out of Jack, where Jack goes off the racetrack, Rocky goes on by, and then they can continue that battle for the top spot just in reverse positions. Yeah,
and something that maybe, you know, we probably all had a time to, gosh, get some loose there, but maybe something we've done at some point in our sim racers watching that are, you know, sim racers themselves, is basing what you're doing off the leader or car in front of you. So if the leader were to make a mistake as we get side by side here, you would end up making one. That is not the case for Rocky Boyd. They're going to be side by side, maybe a little bit of contact there off that corner. Here we come to the finish line. It's going to be about 9 laps to go. Yeah, 9 laps to go this time by for Jack Mace, who is somehow still keeping Rocky Boyd at bay, and they are putting it all on the line. I mean, all bets are off between these two. They are slipping, sliding through every corner. I can't imagine it'll be too long before maybe some sheet metal is exchanged and paint.
You're definitely right on that. And one thing to note as well, you might have noticed it, folks, in the last couple of camera shots, that is lapped traffic right ahead of the leaders. That is Jesse Calloway, the 11th place car. As the leaders are side by side right once again. It's Boyd on driver's right, Mace on driver's left, as they have a big bit of door contact there going in the uphill portion of the racetrack. They're going to continue to be side by side. Mace out to the grass, Boyd on his right. But the lap traffic going to come into play as Boyd using every inch of this racetrack. And when it does come into play, it very well could be in that kind of first handful of corners that are really sketchy moments of this racetrack. So look for Jesse Calloway, if he's observant of what's going on behind him, to maybe even potentially go to the grass to let these guys by.
Yeah, I mean, this is just unbelievable. I cannot believe they were able to run side by side for as long as they did. Boyd obviously able to reclaim the lead finally after having a good few moments or a good few chances, I suppose, of getting the pass done. Finally completed. The lap traffic still lies ahead of Callaway, unsure of just how much of a factor he'll play. You know, will he just lay over for the leaders, or is he going to maybe fight? You just never know with lap traffic sometimes. So, I mean, this is kind of the wild card here. But now Mace is in the position that I mentioned was a few moments ago, where it's kind of just don't let him bait you into a mistake and try and keep yourself in range to maybe make that pass again. There's still 7 laps left to go here. 8 now, sorry, not even down to 7 yet. Or yes, we are, sorry. Where it's just, there's plenty of time for mistakes. We see Jeff Maconi letting the leaders by. I think he might have had a off-track moment himself.
Jeff definitely had himself a moment because he was a couple of corners ahead of Jesse Calloway not too long ago. And then, of course, we just saw him go a lap down to the race leaders, now scored in the 11th position, as Jesse Calloway still right ahead of Rocky Boyd as they come up the uphill portion of the racetrack. A bit of a sketchy exit there for Rocky Boyd as he's going to sneak on by. Jack Mace has a bit of an advantage right there, getting by rather easily on that Jesse Calloway machine. Now just 9 cars remaining on the lead lap as we're about to come to 6 laps to go this time. That battle for third has dissipated a little bit as well. Dan Farron and Jesse Kaplan were side by side for position, but Farron able to get the advantage and work his way up to third as we continue to monitor this battle for the top spot. Rocky Boyd has it, Jack Mace wants it, and they are very, very close together as Mace looking for a little bit of a different approach to the corner entry, maybe looking for a bit more drive off here, Shane?
Possibly. I mean, I'll give Jesse Calloway his flowers, getting out of the way of our leaders, not putting up too much of a fight. However, I can't help but note, you noted that the battle for third place had kind of dissipated. Well, it's also dissipated because third place has closed in a little bit on our top 2. Now, obviously, I'm not so sure if we'll get any more lap traffic as these guys are coming to 5 to go, so maybe it won't be as much of an opportunity to get there. Farron's giving it all he's just about the same pace as our 2 leaders. Take a look at the lap time this time. Yeah, still about faster than the leader, but Mace actually the fastest car that lap in the 7 car running second, but Boyd able to gap him back now, about half a second of a lead, but still slipping and sliding. So anything's possible. I mean, this was heating up to be a pretty intense finish here, as Maconi is the only one in between Mace and Farron, second spot.
So the one thing I'm keeping an eye on here is there actually is a potential possibility here for Jared Davis and Jonathan Sellers to maybe come into play at some point just ahead of those race leaders. They've just entered turn number 1 as the leaders are now working their way towards that pit exit point. So a slim possibility that lap traffic comes into play in these closing 4 laps, but the possibility definitely still there. I saw Jared Davis have a bit of a moment not too long ago. That's our 9th place car, but he was able to gather it up and continue on as the battle continues. The brakes continue to glow on that number 16 of Rocky Boyd, but I think he's looking really smooth here right now in that 16 car, and has extended the gap between himself and Jack Mace. Mace holding on to second as they work their way up the uphill portion of the racetrack. Mace might have had a little bit of a better time navigating through that portion of the racetrack. Now with a good run actually is Jack Mace as they're going to work their way over towards the final couple of corners of the racetrack and head towards the long straightaway where they'll see 3 laps remaining in this one. Could potentially be a battle into turn number 1.
Yeah, that and Farron's given all he's got back in third, praying to the Lord above that they catch that lap traffic, but I just don't know there's about 10 seconds to get to Terry Henry, the next car ahead. That would go a lap down, but I just don't think they're going to get there. So Farron would have to really bank on maybe these two getting together. But you mentioned that the gap is gone, so I can't rule it out. Farron could be in the catbird's seat here. It's only about 0.3 of a second. It don't even look like that much. That's what the reading says. It don't even look like that on your screen. These guys are giving it all they've got. I can only imagine the pressure Boyd has. It's kind of one of those moments you have as a sim racer where you're like, God, why am I looking in my mirror? I don't want to know he's back there. But you can't help yourself. It's just, you can't have enough of it. You got to know where he's at. You hate yourself for looking. But here we come to the line, 2 laps to go. See if we get a move out of Mace into turn 1 this time. If we don't this time, I can only imagine when the white flag appears this next time around, it's going to be on.
Obstacle sticks were displayed that time by, like you mentioned, Shane, 2 laps remaining. Rocky Boyd still holds the advantage over Jack Mace in position number 2. And there wasn't really a move made in turn number 1 this time. So like you said, potentially after we get that white flag lap indicated to these drivers, we might see that bumper come into play just a little bit more. And folks, you might be seeing Rocky Boyd pulling away just a little bit, but we saw that last lap as well. And in this next portion of the racetrack, the second half of the lap is where Jack Mace really is able to close that gap, get up there to the rear bumper of the 16 and set himself up for a potential opportunity to get up there and pass for the top spot as they work their way down the front straightaway for the second to last time here tonight. White flags in the air, 1 lap to go. It's Rocky Boyd and Jack Mace as they head for turn number 1. No contact there, no real possibility as of yet, but watch for that 0.7 to dive these corners just a little bit deeper.
I think Mace, like I said, he's better in kind of the latter half of this racetrack. So maybe not making that move in turn 1 the previous time around with this white flag lap as to just try and maybe set him up for where he's better than him anyway. I mean, it's only 0.4 of a second. We could see kind of a bonsai move heading down to the final couple of corners.
As they work their way through the uphill portion of the racetrack, coming to the last few sets of corners here at the Lime Rock Park. The Gnomes are on the sideline watching here as Jack Mace and Rocky Boyd head their way down the downhill to the final straightaway. Rocky Boyd with the advantage, Jack Mace behind him. Gonna try to get a run. Don't think he's gonna be able to do it as they come to the line. It's gonna be checkered flag for Rocky Boyd. Rocky Boyd wins it here at Lime Rock Park. Jack Mace going to bring it home in second, and Dan Farron going to round out the podium after gaining more than a dozen positions here tonight. Great battle out front and a great finish between Rocky Boyd and Jack Mace.
Farron and Wellman finished inside the top 5, and I promise you they did not start there. Both of them gaining over 10 positions to finish there. Rocky Boyd played this perfectly tonight. Lost the lead. He started from the pole. He lost the lead to Jack Mace. Kept it patient. Didn't lose his and just kept it straight. Ran a perfect race, especially those closing laps. Could have easily slipped up at any point and lost the lead to Jack Mace. And also some credit to Jack Mace, who had probably every opportunity to get into the back of the 16, move him out of the way, rough him up a little bit more than he did. And he chose to race him as clean as possible, and you always got to respect that.
Absolutely, always have to respect a great clean battle amongst guys that do this together each and every Friday night here with Maconi Setup Shop on Maconi Entertainment with Fast Fridays. And Shane, why don't we go ahead and take a quick commercial break? When we come back, we'll take a look at the results and we'll catch up with our podium finishers.
When you want to be the best, you can't settle for the rest. For anything on iRacing, there's just one name you need: Maconi.
With the launch of Maconi Entertainment and Maconi Competizone alongside Maconi Setup Shop, we now provide the best of the best in setups, paint schemes, coaching, broadcasting, and event organization.
With cars across all 4 license classes, we have what you need to hit the track with confidence. Grab a subscription and save money while going fast at MaconiSetupShop.com/subscriptions.
And remember, at Maconi Setup Shop, there are setups, but your victories.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
And we are back here at the Lime Rock Park following a great Fast Friday event here this evening. Rocky Boyd taking the top spot over Jack Mason. What was a fantastic battle down to the line. Shane, why don't we take a look at the finishing results here tonight, and then we'll get to talking with Jack Mason, Rocky Boyd.
Absolutely, and what a battle we saw tonight between Boyd and Mason. They are your top two finishers. See, Mace got close, just about a tenth shy of picking up that win. Dan Farron rounds out the top three with Kaplan, Welleman. Farron and Welleman picking up a ton of spots to finish where they did. Dawson, Cram, Logan Wilson, Jared Davis, Sellers, and our very own Jeff Maconi rounding out our top 10.
Coming home in the 11th position tonight is going to be Jesse Calloway ahead of Zach Ball. Terry Henry, 13th, Aiden Wingfield. We saw that driver absolutely sideways each and every corner here tonight. Comes home 14th. Joe Marks, 15th. Mike Sargent, a very quiet night for him in 16th. Raphael Semprich in 17th. Gerald Ingerick in 18th. Chris Walsh, 19th. And Derek Dixon, we saw him start up front and ran into trouble early. Going to round out the top 20.
Yeah, and you notice just the laps down that some of these guys were, how many guys ended up having trouble tonight, just how tricky this was. Jackson Casper starts us off in 21st on this next page. Nicholas Milesy, John Kelly, Jesse Webb, Hans Koenig in 25th. John Campbell, Nathaniel Roberts, 26th, 27th. Maurice Barry, 28th. Noah Carpenter and Adam Goldfarb in 29th and 30th.
And that will round out our finishing results here tonight. Why don't we go ahead and have a word with our second place finisher, Jack Mace, that's going to be standing by with Shane Mundy.
Jack Mace, you got me?
Yep, I got you.
All right. Well, first of all, you had a great race tonight. You ran as high as the lead. You started second, didn't fall any lower than that. You were able to get by Boyd for a little bit. What more would it have taken to keep the lead there from Boyd and come home on top?
I can't remember what lap it was, but just not going straight off the track and turn on whatever lap that was, because we were actually in a voice call together for this race, because if we run anything like this, we run it together. We have a lot of fun in these. And we were just talking about how I'd finally broken him out of draft range for the first time, and then I go straight off the track and lose a second and a half, and he's straight back on my bumper again. And then that allowed him, because he'd been saving his tires to that point, so then that erased any gap I would have had and just let him get back by me, which he worked me over. We raced very clean, and it was a lot of fun. That was one of the more fun experiences I've had in a road course. So maybe could have tried to lay the bumper to him there at the very end, but it wasn't worth it. We'd had a great race to that point, and I wasn't about to just risk taking us both out to try and potentially get it.
Absolutely, and we definitely gave you your credit for racing him as clean as you did there on the last lap to put up a great fight. Always respect a clean finish. We saw so many guys slipping and sliding around here. Definitely looked like a fun time out here. I would not have expected the street stock and this racetrack being as good of a combo as it was, but were you kind of surprised with what a good show this was, or have you done this before?
Never at Lime Rock before, but street stocks in their C-Class series go to a road course once a season, and I usually run at least 10 or 15 of them in that 1 week, because these things on road courses are super underrated. I have a lot of fun in them quite a lot, because the tire model allows you to just slip and slide quite a lot, and it's it's just super fun. There isn't too much tire wear, so you can send it, as you saw at the end. Though Darren kind of did outsave us and was running us down very quickly, but I run these on road courses a lot, so I do have experience with this, but it's never usually that fun because you don't have someone that even to fight like I had there with Rocky.
Well, it was a great show tonight. Congrats on a great run and a clean finish there. Thank you for your time, Jack, and congrats again.
Yeah, appreciate you putting it on.
That was our runner-up tonight, Jack Mace, with our very own Shane Mundy. And now I'm going to be joined by our winner here tonight, Rocky Boyd. Rocky, you got a copy?
I got you guys.
You had a great battle there with Jack Mace, pretty much all race long. Why don't you walk us through it?
Yeah, I mean we were in the same Discord, so we knew we were gonna race each other clean, so we were just racing each other super hard, and I saw the British flags all over that car, and in the back of my mind I was thinking, 1776, we are the champs, so I just had to make sure I didn't let them get the win.
That's an interesting way of putting it there tonight, Rocky. But I know you as more of a short track guy and an oval racer. Do you have a deep background in road as well? And have you seen success on the road side in the past?
No, absolutely not. But I've been working really hard at getting better at this road stuff just because it's on the round 2 schedule. We have a road race, so I've been trying to improve my road racing a little bit. So that was kind of actually why we went in here and raced. It was just to see how I compare to Jack because he's a much better road racer than I am typically.
And I got to ask, coming to the white flag, did you expect the bumper to be laid on you going into turn 1 maybe, or maybe just after the uphill portion of the racetrack by that Jack Mace machine?
If he was a little bit closer, yeah, but I don't think he was close enough to do it without wrecking me, and I don't think he was going to try and wreck me for it.
And looking ahead on the schedule here, Rocky, next week is the final qualifier before the big money race coming up on August 9th at Daytona. We're going to be in the Legend Cars at Lanier next week. What's your outlook for that one? You think you can go back to back?
If I show up, maybe there's a chance. I don't know what my schedule's looking like quite yet, but we'll have to see.
And before we let you go here tonight, who gets it done for you? What are the sponsors on board that 16 car?
Yeah, I mean, guys at JRS Racing, they've all been helping me improve on the road side, and then Bud's Automotive on the side of that race car. They're a big part of my sim racing stuff. So thankful for both of them, and ready for whatever's next.
Congratulations on a solid run here tonight, Rocky, and we hope to see you next week at Lanier.
Thank you. See you guys.
That was your race winner, Rocky Boyd, here tonight. And Shane, before we head off for the evening, any final thoughts from you after what was a great race here at Lime Rock?
Yeah, I mean, I've said it a couple times throughout the broadcast, but I was just very blown away at how much fun this looked with this car at this track. I mean, I was honestly kind of envious of these guys at a couple points tonight. It just looked like so much fun slipping, sliding around these exits to the corners, going through the grass, trying to find a way around the car in front of you. Uh, Unfortunately, some of that bit some of these guys in the field. We only had about like 12 or 13 of these guys finish the race tonight. We had way more than that start. Just shows how tricky it was and how impressive of a win it was tonight for these guys. But just, man, I was blown away at how much fun this looked.
I was definitely surprised by the quality of racing we got here tonight and the size of the field that we had. I wasn't expecting to come into a nearly full lobby of street stocks here at the Lime Rock Park, but it's always nice when you get surprises like that. You see a great field and you have great quality competition all night long. And before we do head off for the evening, I just want to remind you folks, of course, next Friday night, we'll be back with the Legend Cars at Lanier, and that will lead us into the following week, as you see the schedule up on the screen. Our first money race of the season, which will be Xfinity Cars at Daytona. The winner of that race, as you see at the bottom of the screen, has a choice between a 1-meter trophy or $250 cash to the race winner. So all of these races you see in white are qualifiers for those yellow indicated races, which are our money races. And we'll have 3 of those in the July to September portion of the season, which is Xfinity at Daytona, late models at Dover, and trucks at Talladega. But that's going to do it for us here tonight. And we want to thank all of our race sponsors, Maconi Setup Shop and Maconi Competitive Zone. Calling the action tonight was myself, Robert Hill Jr., alongside Shane Mundy here in the booth with David Kreutz producing. Thanks to all the viewers for watching tonight's racing action, and we hope you'll stay tuned to all of our social media pages for our next Fast Friday race. And don't forget to tune in each week for our broadcast of the top split of the Maconi Setup Shop C Fixed Series. This has been a production of Maconi Entertainment, and we'll see you at the checkered flag. Good night, everybody.
You